Welcome to my channel HFY Universe. Today, we bring you an unforgettable humanity-first story filled with mystery, courage, and the unbreakable bond of family. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the adventure. No one knew where the human child came from. The cargo shuttle drifted silently through the empty darkness between the stars, its emergency beacon blinking weakly. Every major fleet ignored it. To the powerful civilizations of the galaxy, abandoned ships were usually traps, or simply not worth the fuel. But one family answered the signal. The Valori, a peaceful alien species known for their compassion, lived on a small colony world called Elera 7. Captain Kale and his wife Lyra were returning home with their teenage daughter Syrah after delivering medical supplies. When their scanners detected the drifting shuttle, Kale sighed. Probably another abandoned freighter. Lyra smiled gently. What if someone is still alive? Kale changed course. Inside the shuttle they found silence. The life support system had almost failed. A faint cry echoed through the cabin. A baby! Syrah whispered in disbelief. Hidden inside a damaged escape pod was a tiny human child, wrapped in a thermal blanket. His blue eyes slowly opened, staring directly at the strange alien faces surrounding him. Instead of crying in fear, he smiled. Lyra's heart melted instantly. He's just a child. Kale scanned the pod. No military records. No colony registry. No DNA matches in the galactic database. The boy had no identity. No family. No home. The only clue was a damaged pendant around his neck engraved with a single word. Ethan. Back on Elera 7, the family searched every known database, broadcasting rescue signals across the galactic network. Weeks became months. No one came. Finally, Lyra looked at Kale with tears in her eyes. He deserves a family. Kale hesitated. You know what the Galactic Council thinks about humans. Humans had disappeared from the galaxy decades earlier after mysterious wars and political betrayals. Many species believed they were violent, unpredictable, and dangerous. Some even considered humanity extinct. Adopting a human child wasn't just unusual. It was forbidden in several star systems. Yet Lyra refused to abandon him. If kindness becomes illegal, then perhaps the galaxy has forgotten what civilization truly means. Kale smiled. So, Ethan becomes our son. Syrah laughed happily as the little boy grabbed her finger with surprising strength. From that day forward, Ethan Valori became part of their family. Years passed. Unlike the peaceful Valori children, Ethan grew incredibly fast. By the age of 7, he could lift equipment that required 3 adult Valori workers. He learned every language on the colony within months. His curiosity seemed limitless. Whenever someone was hurt, Ethan rushed to help without hesitation. Whenever danger appeared, he instinctively stepped forward. The neighbors slowly accepted him. Many even forgot he was human. But not everyone approved. Far away, inside the towering chambers of the Galactic Council, disturbing reports began arriving. A human child has been adopted by the Valori. The council members erupted into angry arguments. Impossible. Humans cannot be trusted. This violates interstellar law. One powerful senator slammed his fist onto the table. If humanity returns through this child, history may repeat itself. Another quietly suggested something far darker. Remove the child before others begin protecting humans. The motion passed. A classified operation was immediately authorized. Across the stars, a covert fleet changed its course. Its destination, Elera 7. Unaware of the growing storm, Ethan laughed as he played with Syrah beneath the glowing crystal trees. For the first time in his life, he truly felt like he belonged. He had no idea that the entire galaxy had just declared war on the family that loved him. If you enjoy epic HFY stories where humanity changes the fate of the galaxy, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for the next chapter of this incredible adventure. The peaceful days on Elera 7 came to an end far sooner than anyone expected. 3 months had passed since the Galactic Council learned that a human child was living with the Valori family. During that time, Ethan continued growing into a kind and intelligent boy. He helped farmers repair machinery, assisted doctors in the medical center, and spent every afternoon playing with the children of the colony. To everyone on Elera, 7, Ethan wasn't a human anymore. He was simply family. But across the galaxy, fear continued to spread. Inside the enormous council chamber, representatives from hundreds of alien civilizations argued over the same question. What should be done with the human child? Some senators believed Ethan should be studied. Others demanded he be imprisoned before he became dangerous. Only a handful dared to ask a different question. What if humanity was never the monster history claimed? The room immediately erupted into shouting. Senator Dravos slammed his hand onto the council table. Humanity destroyed worlds. Their return can only bring disaster. We cannot allow this child to become a symbol. After hours of debate, the council reached its decision. A military fleet would travel to Elera, 7. Officially, they called it a peaceful inspection. Unofficially, everyone knew its true purpose. Bring the human child back by force if necessary. Thousands of light years away, life on Elera, 7 remained peaceful. Captain Kale was teaching Ethan how to fly small transport ships. You don't control a ship with strength, Kale explained. You control it with patience. Ethan smiled. Just like Mom says. Kale laughed. Exactly. Meanwhile, Lyra worked in the colony hospital, where Ethan often volunteered after school. Even at his young age, he remembered every patient's name and always knew how to make frightened children smile. One elderly Valori looked at Lyra and whispered, "Your son has a gentle heart." Lyra smiled proudly. He gets that from his father. Unknown to them, hidden satellites had already entered the system. The council fleet was watching every movement. Commander Varek studied Ethan through live surveillance footage. So this is the dangerous human. Instead of finding an aggressive child, he watched Ethan rescue an injured crystal bird trapped beneath fallen debris. The boy carefully lifted the heavy rocks, treated the bird's broken wing, and released it back into the sky. Several officers exchanged confused looks. "Sir, that's not what the history files described." Varek remained silent. For the first time, doubt entered his mind. That evening, Ethan and Syrah climbed their favorite hill overlooking the glowing forests of Elera, 7. The stars stretched endlessly above them. Ethan stared into the sky. "Syrah, do humans still exist?" She hesitated. "I don't know." "Then why am I the only one? I wish I had the answer." Ethan lowered his head. "Sometimes I feel different." Syrah gently placed her hand on his shoulder. "You are different. But not because you're human. You're different because you always choose to help others." Those words stayed with Ethan long after the sun disappeared. Far above the planet, Commander Varek finally received the order he had been waiting for. Operation Silent Retrieval is authorized. 12 assault ships. 500 soldiers. Planetary lockdown. No civilian casualties unless resistance is encountered. Varek closed the transmission. He looked once more at the smiling human child playing with his family. Quietly he whispered, "I hope the council knows what it's doing." Then he gave the command. "All ships, enter orbit." Within minutes, the peaceful skies of Elera 7 disappeared behind hundreds of massive galactic warships. Emergency alarms echoed across every city. Citizens looked up in horror as black shadows covered the stars. Captain Kale rushed outside and immediately understood. "They're here." Lyra grabbed Ethan's hand. "No matter what happens, you are our son, and no one is taking you away." As the first troop transports began descending through the clouds, the entire colony prepared to defend a child who had done nothing except love them. The dark warships of the Galactic Council covered the skies above Elora, 7 like a storm that refused to pass. Their engines rumbled so loudly that windows shook across the colony. Children stopped playing. Workers abandoned their stations. Every citizen looked toward the heavens with fear. Then the emergency broadcast echoed through every home. Attention, citizens of Elora, 7. By order of the Galactic Council, surrender the human child known as Ethan immediately. Any resistance will be considered an act of rebellion against the Council. Silence spread across the colony. Inside the Valori home, Ethan looked at Kale with frightened eyes. They're talking about me. Aren't they? Kale knelt beside him. Yes. Are they going to hurt us? Kale placed both hands on Ethan's shoulders. As long as we are alive, no one will ever hurt you. Lyra hugged Ethan tightly while Syrah stood beside them, trying to hide the fear on her face. Outside, hundreds of citizens had already gathered around the house. Doctors, teachers, engineers, farmers. Even elderly citizens arrived carrying nothing but determination. No one carried weapons. They carried only one message. Ethan is one of us. Several transport ships landed in the center of the colony. Their doors opened with a loud metallic hiss. Hundreds of armored galactic enforcers marched out in perfect formation. Commander Varek walked at the front, his expression cold and unreadable. He stopped only a few meters away from the crowd. I am Commander Varek of the Galactic Council. I have come for the human child. No one moved. No one answered. Finally, an elderly woman stepped forward. Years earlier, Ethan had donated blood during an emergency procedure that saved her granddaughter's life. She looked directly into Varek's eyes. You will not take our grandson. Another citizen stepped forward. He repaired my oxygen generator during the winter storms. A firefighter raised his voice. He saved my entire rescue team when the crystal mines collapsed. Soon dozens more joined them. He taught our children. He helped our farms. He never asked for anything in return. Commander Varek listened quietly. Everything he had learned about humans described them as violent and selfish. Yet every person standing before him described Ethan as kind, brave, and selfless. For the first time in years, the official history of humanity began to crack. High above the planet, Senator Dravos watched the confrontation through the fleet's command center. His patience finally ended. They hesitate because they are weak. He activated the fleet-wide communication channel. If Commander Varek refuses to complete the mission, I will. Without waiting for approval, Dravos ordered 3 heavy assault cruisers to descend into the atmosphere. Massive energy cannons rotated toward the colony. Warning sirens screamed across Elora, 7. Captain Kale looked toward the sky in horror. They're bringing warships into a civilian zone. Lyra whispered. They would destroy an entire colony. Just to take one child. Inside the Council fleet, Commander Varek contacted Dravos. Senator, there are thousands of civilians below. I recommend further negotiations. Dravos answered coldly. Your duty is obedience. The child is humanity. Humanity is a threat. If civilians choose to protect him, they accept the consequences. The transmission ended. Varek stared silently at the screen. For the first time in his military career, he questioned his orders. Back on the surface, Ethan quietly stepped away from his family. Kale immediately noticed. Ethan. The young boy looked at the crowd surrounding him. Thousands of innocent people were risking their lives because of him. Slowly, he walked toward Commander Varek. The soldiers immediately raised their weapons. Lyra screamed. Ethan, stop. But the boy kept walking. When he finally reached Varek, he looked up and spoke with a calm voice. If I go with you, will you leave my family alone? The crowd fell completely silent. Even the soldiers seemed shocked. Commander Varek stared at the child. No fear. No hatred. Only a little boy willing to sacrifice his own freedom to protect the people he loved. For a long moment, Varek couldn't find the words to answer. Then, before anyone could speak, a deafening explosion shook the sky. One of Senator Dravos's assault cruisers fired a warning blast that destroyed an empty mountain just outside the colony. The ground trembled violently. Dust filled the air. Children began crying. Commander Varek turned toward the burning mountain in disbelief. Dravos had attacked, without authorization. And in that single moment, Varek realized something terrifying. The greatest threat to the galaxy wasn't the human child. It was the people who feared him. A massive cloud of dust and burning crystal fragments rose into the sky where the mountain had once stood. The shock wave knocked dozens of citizens off their feet. Windows shattered throughout the nearby settlements, and frightened children cried as parents rushed to protect them. Ethan instinctively covered a small Valori girl with his own body until the shaking stopped. Commander Varek stared at the smoking crater in disbelief. "That wasn't a warning," he whispered. "That was an attack." His communications officer rushed toward him. "Commander, Senator Dravos has ordered all assault cruisers to prepare for orbital bombardment if the colony continues resisting." Varek's eyes widened. "There are thousands of civilians down there. The senator says civilian casualties are acceptable." For several moments, Varek remained silent. Then he made the most difficult decision of his career. He switched to the fleet-wide communication channel. "All enforcer units stand down. No soldier is to fire without my direct command." Several captains immediately questioned the order. "Commander, that contradicts the senator's instructions." Varek answered firmly. "I will take full responsibility." On the surface, Captain Kale realized something had changed. The soldiers who had been pointing weapons at the crowd slowly lowered them. The tension eased, but only for a moment. High above, Senator Dravos was furious. "He dares to disobey me." Dravos slammed his fist onto the command console. "If Commander Varek lacks the courage to act, I'll finish this myself." He ordered his personal flagship to move directly above the Valori colony. The enormous warship blocked out the sun. Its primary plasma cannon began charging. A bright blue light gathered beneath the ship, growing larger every second. Panic spread through the streets. Families ran toward underground shelters. Emergency alarms echoed across every district. Lyra held Ethan tightly. "No matter what happens, we stay together." Ethan looked up at the glowing weapon in the sky. He had never seen such fear on his mother's face. Inside the flagship, several officers hesitated. "Senator, there are no military targets below." Dravos didn't even look at them. "I don't care. The destruction of one colony will remind the galaxy what happens to anyone who protects humanity." One young officer quietly lowered his head. He knew history would remember this day. Back on the surface, Ethan suddenly noticed something strange. The pendant around his neck, the only thing left from his real parents, began glowing with a faint golden light. Everyone nearby noticed it. Syrah stepped closer. "Ethan, your necklace." The glow became brighter. Then, without warning, a soft holographic projection appeared above the pendant. A human woman wearing an advanced military uniform smiled gently. "Emergency identification protocol activated. If you are seeing this message, my son is alive." Ethan froze. Mom." The hologram continued. "My name is Commander Amelia Carter of the Human Defense Fleet. If my child has survived, then humanity has already made its greatest sacrifice." Kale, Lyra, and everyone nearby watched in complete silence. Amelia's voice remained calm. "We did not abandon the galaxy. We protected it. There are truths the Galactic Council buried long ago." Before the recording could continue, a powerful energy pulse from Dravos's flagship struck the hologram, disrupting the transmission. The image flickered and disappeared. "No!" Ethan shouted. The only message from his real mother was gone. Commander Varek witnessed everything through his battlefield scanners. A human defense fleet. He searched the Council archives. To his surprise, every record connected to humanity was classified at the highest level. Entire decades of history had been erased. Someone had hidden the truth. At that moment, Varek finally understood why the Council feared humans. It wasn't because humanity had destroyed the galaxy. It was because humanity knew something the Council never wanted anyone to discover. As the plasma cannon above Elera 7 reached full power, Dravos gave the final order. Fire! The blinding beam raced toward the helpless colony, and Ethan stood directly beneath it. Parents hugged their children. Captain Kale pulled Lyra, Syrah, and Ethan close together. For a brief moment, the entire colony believed it was the end. A deafening roar echoed across the sky. The plasma beam suddenly struck an invisible energy barrier that surrounded the colony. Instead of destroying the city, the blast exploded harmlessly into thousands of glowing fragments that rained across the forests like blue rain. The ground shook violently, but the colony remained untouched. No one could believe what they were seeing. Dravos stood frozen inside his command bridge. Impossible! Who activated a planetary shield? His engineers searched every system. There is no registered defense shield on Elera 7. Commander Varek looked toward Ethan. At the same moment the shield appeared. The pendant around the boy's neck had begun glowing once again. Back on the surface, the golden light surrounding Ethan became brighter than ever before. The damaged pendant slowly unfolded into a small floating device no larger than a human hand. Ancient symbols covered its surface. A calm artificial voice echoed across the colony. Human Defense Network Online. Recognizing Commander Ethan Carter. Everyone stared at the young boy. Ethan looked completely confused. I didn't do anything. The device continued speaking. Genetic identity confirmed. Access to Guardian Protocol granted. Suddenly, dozens of beams of golden light shot into the sky. Hidden beneath the mountains surrounding Elera 7, enormous underground structures awakened after decades of silence. Massive defense towers slowly emerged from beneath the planet's surface. Ancient satellites powered on in orbit. Within seconds, the peaceful colony transformed into a heavily fortified defense world. Captain Kale could hardly breathe. These defenses. They've been here all along, Lyra whispered. Humanity hid them. Inside the Council fleet, alarms began screaming. Unknown orbital weapons detected. Our targeting systems are being hacked. Navigation controls are failing. Several warships suddenly lost power. Others found their weapons completely disabled. Panic spread across the fleet. Commander Varek watched in amazement. The human defenses aren't attacking. They're only disabling our weapons. One officer nodded. It's as if they're trying to avoid casualties. Varek smiled slightly. Exactly what Ethan would do. Senator Dravos, however, refused to retreat. His face twisted with anger. So the humans really planned for this day. He activated a hidden communication channel. Release the Omega fleet. Every officer on the bridge turned toward him in shock. Senator, the Omega fleet was banned centuries ago. I gave an order. Deep within a classified sector of space, hundreds of enormous black warships slowly powered on. Unlike the Council fleet, these vessels carried no diplomatic markings. Only one symbol covered their hulls. A crimson serpent wrapped around a dying star. They were the Council's secret army. An army the galaxy believed had been destroyed hundreds of years earlier. Meanwhile, Ethan picked up the floating device. A new hologram appeared. This time the image was much clearer. Commander Amelia Carter smiled warmly at her son. If you're seeing this, Ethan, then the Council has revealed its true face. Tears filled Ethan's eyes. Mom! The hologram continued. We never started the Great Galactic War. We ended it. The Council erased the truth because they feared humanity would unite the galaxy. Kale, Lyra, Syrah, and every citizen listened in stunned silence. Humanity had never betrayed the galaxy. They had saved it. The greatest lie in galactic history was finally beginning to unravel. But before Amelia could reveal everything, long-range scanners detected something terrifying. Hundreds of unknown warships had entered the system. They were larger, and far more heavily armed than the Galactic Council fleet. Commander Varek looked at the incoming armada and quietly whispered, "No. The Omega Fleet." Dravos smiled for the first time that day. "If the galaxy won't fear humanity, they'll fear me." As the mysterious fleet surrounded Elera, 7 from every direction, everyone realized the real war had only just begun. It was a battlefield. Hundreds of Omega Fleet warships emerged from hyperspace like silent predators, forming a complete sphere around the planet. Their black hulls absorbed all light, making them appear like a growing void swallowing the stars themselves. Even the Galactic Council fleet paused. They had expected rebellion. They had not expected this. Commander Varek stared at the tactical display. "These ships, they're not Council design." An officer replied nervously. "They're older but more advanced. We can't identify their origin." At the center of the planet's defense grid, Ethan stood holding the glowing human device. The voice of his mother's recording had gone silent, but the system remained active. Guardian Protocol, final stage pending. On the surface, panic had turned into silence. Citizens of Elera, 7 watched the sky as if reality itself had stopped working. Kale placed a protective hand on Ethan's shoulder. "Whatever happens, stay behind us." Lyra shook her head. "No, not this time." She stepped forward, standing beside Ethan. "If the galaxy wants him, they'll have to go through all of us." Syrah stood too. Then the entire colony followed. One by one. No weapons. No fear. Only resolve. Inside the Omega Fleet command ship, Senator Dravos watched everything with cold satisfaction. "They still don't understand." He leaned forward. "Activate planetary suppression field." A deep hum echoed through space. From the Omega ships, massive energy rings unfolded. A red gravitational wave spread toward Elera, 7. One by one, the colony's newly awakened defense towers began to shut down. The golden shields flickered. Systems failed. Ethan's device trembled violently in his hands. The AI voice returned, weaker now. "External override detected. Human defense systems destabilizing." Ethan stepped back. "I didn't do anything wrong." Kale knelt beside him. "You never did." Lyra added softly. "But someone is trying to punish you anyway." Commander Varek suddenly made a decision. He opened a direct channel to Dravos. "Senator, stop this immediately." Dravos turned slowly. "Or what?" Varek's voice hardened. "You are committing genocide against a protected colony." Dravos smiled. "There are no protected colonies. Only examples." He cut the channel. Then it began. The Omega Fleet fired. Not at the colony, but at the planetary shield grid itself. Massive energy beams struck the ancient human defense structures hidden beneath Elera, 7. The ground shook violently. Entire sections of the Golden Shield collapsed. Explosions lit up the horizon. Syrah screamed as the sky cracked open with light. "They're breaking everything." Ethan fell to his knees. The device in his hands pulsed faster. "Emergency condition. Guardian requires authorization." Suddenly, a deep mechanical voice echoed from beneath the planet. Not from the device. From the world itself. "Authorization detected. Heir of humanity confirmed." The ground split open. Not in destruction but in revelation. Gigantic structures rose from beneath the planet. Ancient human battle stations, orbital cannons, and command spires long buried beneath time. Elera 7 was not just a colony. It was a sleeping fortress world. Commander Verek's eyes widened. They never abandoned this system. Dravos's smile faded slightly. What is this? Ethan slowly stood up. The device transformed again, merging with the rising systems. Golden light surrounded him completely. For the first time, his voice was calm. I don't want to fight. The AI responded instantly. Human command acknowledged. Non-lethal defense matrix available. Kale looked at him. What does that mean? Ethan swallowed. I think they only wake up if I'm in danger. Above them, the Omega fleet prepared a second strike. Dravos gave the final order. Erase the planet. Every weapon locked on Elera 7. The galaxy held its breath. Commander Verek whispered. This is madness. Ethan raised his hand. Not in attack, but in refusal. The entire planetary defense network responded instantly. Golden energy erupted across the world. A massive barrier formed, not just around Elera 7, but expanding outward into space. Pushed back the Omega fleet. Slowly, steadily, unstoppable. The black warships began to drift backward, unable to resist. Dravos shouted, "Fire everything!" But nothing worked. Weapons failed. Engines locked. Even communication systems went silent. The Omega fleet was being contained, not destroyed. Commander Verek finally understood. They're not warriors. They're protectors. Ethan's voice echoed softly through the battlefield. Please stop. And for the first time in recorded history, a human command was enough to silence an entire armada. The entire Omega fleet hung motionless in space. Not destroyed. Not firing. Just frozen. Trapped inside a vast golden containment field created by ancient human defense systems. Every warship, from smallest scout to Senator Dravos's massive flagship, had been completely neutralized. Inside the silence of space, fear spread faster than any weapon ever could. Dravos stared at the tactical screen, his hands shaking for the first time. This is impossible. Commander Verek's voice came through the static. It was always possible. You just refused to see it. On Elera 7, Ethan stood at the center of the awakened fortress world. Golden light surrounded him, but his eyes were not those of a conqueror. They were the eyes of a child who never wanted any of this. I don't want to hurt anyone, Ethan whispered. The AI responded softly. Human directive priority. Preserve life above all. Kale stepped forward. Then don't hurt them. Lyra added. Just stop the fighting. Ethan nodded slowly. I'll try. He raised his hand again. Above the planet, the golden containment field began to shift. Instead of tightening, stabilized. The Omega fleet was still trapped, but no longer under threat of destruction. Controlled prison in space. Dravos saw this and laughed bitterly. So the child won't kill us. But he will imprison us. Commander Verek answered coldly. You brought war to a world that only offered kindness. Suddenly, every system across Elera 7 activated again. But this time, not for defense. For truth. A massive holographic beacon erupted from the planet, projecting far beyond the system, into the entire galaxy. And then she appeared. Commander Amelia Carter. The long-lost human recording fully restored. But now it was live. Every council fleet. Every allied world. Every station across the galaxy. They all saw her face. This is not a transmission. This is a declaration. Amelia's voice was calm, but absolute. The Galactic Council erased humanity's history because they feared unity. They called us monsters, because they could not control us. She looked directly into the eyes of every viewer. But the truth is simple. We never sought domination. We built guardians. The camera shifted, showing Elera 7's awakened fortress systems. Inside the Omega fleet, silence spread. Even Dravos had stopped speaking. Amelia continued. The child you see today is not a weapon. He is a key. A living genetic authorization for humanity's final safeguard. He paused. And now, you have activated it. Ethan stepped forward again. Mom. Amelia smiled softly. You did well, Ethan. You protected life. Even when the galaxy didn't deserve your kindness. Tears filled his eyes. I was scared. I know, she replied. And you were still brave. Commander Varek lowered his weapon completely. Senator Dravos, he said quietly. This ends now. But Dravos was no longer listening. He activated one final hidden command. If I cannot control the galaxy, no one will. The Omega fleet began a self-destruction sequence. The containment field flickered dangerously. Ethan's eyes widened. They're going to explode. Kale stepped forward. We can't let millions die. Ethan hesitated, then whispered. I don't want anyone to die. The AI responded instantly. Alternative protocol available. Override. Human mercy command accepted. A pulse of golden light surged outward. The Omega fleet's self-destruct systems froze mid-sequence. Not destroyed. Not released. Just shut down. Commander Varek stared in disbelief. He stopped it. He saved even them. Dravos fell to his knees inside his failing flagship. For the first time in his life, he understood fear. Not of death, but of truth. Across the galaxy, the broadcast continued. Amelia's final words echoed. Humanity is not your enemy. We never were. We are your mirror. And now, you must decide what you want to become. The transmission ended. Silence fell across the stars. On Elera 7, the golden light slowly faded. The fortress systems did not vanish, but went dormant once again. Ethan stood in the quiet field outside his home. No warships, no explosions, only stars. Lyra knelt beside him and hugged him tightly. You're still our son. Kale placed a hand on his shoulder. And you always will be. Syrah smiled through tears. Even if you're the reason the galaxy is going crazy. Ethan finally laughed. A small, relieved laugh. I didn't mean to. High above, Commander Varek sent his final report to the Council. Humanity is not a threat to the galaxy. It is the only reason it still exists. And for the first time in history, the galaxy did not prepare for war. Prepared for understanding. Because a human child, raised by an alien family, had changed everything. Then,